Ryan, we normally just start talking and then whatever happens. So usually the first thing we start with is the traditional first question. What are you sipping on? What are you drinking?
Oh, cool. I've got water here. I've just got water. Pretty boring answer.
Right. Is it specially filtered, or did you leave it in the sunshine for 6 hours before drinking it or anything?
Let me see. It says Highland Spring.
Oh, now we're talking. Talking.
Naturally from Scotland's hills.
Is this hang on, is this the Highland Spring that says Highland Spring, but it's actually from the Ochil Hills, which is Stirling?
You're correct, Ez. Yeah, it's the Ochil Hills. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, how did you know that? Yeah,
false advertising. You're just born with this kind of knowledge when you're from there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What scams?
Exactly. Yeah, Highlands. For anyone listening, this is proper central Scotland, and somehow it's managing to call itself Highland Spring. So, anyway.
What a grift, man.
Yeah. So we normally talk. The last time I spoke to you, Ryan, we were talking about feet fetishes. Do you want to talk about
that? You guys were talking about feet fetishes on the last show?
No, your show. When I was on your show.
Your show.
Oh, were we? Oh,
yeah.
Man.
There you go.
I don't even remember.
You know what we should do is maybe introduce Ryan.
Yes.
Good idea.
How we know him. So Ryan bankrolls the Psychophysical podcast with all of his crypto money, and that's how we know him. Mm-hmm. And he pays for all the production and all that because he's crypto rich.
A little benefactor, yeah.
But he puts a lot of pressure on us because he puts so much extra. He sends us so much extra money that we don't know what to do with it all. So.
Yeah, and in exchange, you guys say exactly what I want every single week.
We always do. Get less sunshine, more screens, less sun. We always do it for you.
Ryan actually writes a script.
This is all
scripted. Jesus, if this is scripted, we're fucked.
Well, Ryan, you, Alex, and Will have a podcast called Modern Sovereign. And it was actually I guess, Kevin, you said it before. I think it was a big inspiration for us doing this, was what they had going on. You listened to a few episodes or whatever and thought we could just do it in a different style.
Yeah, it was the idea of having three guys doing it rather than the sort of one-to-one interview kind of format. Podcast thing's kind of stale. And I knew there were just like three guys that knew each other from Twitter. So I just thought, I know some guys on Twitter, and we did this similar thing. So yeah, it probably wouldn't be doing it just now if it wasn't for their one. I'll be honest, I haven't heard that many of your episodes because it's not my thing.
Whoa.
But I have listened to Salmon, and I understood absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Which has made me think that you knew what you were talking about.
I mean that's a fallacy. You shouldn't think that just because you misunderstood it, Kevin. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. we try to pin it on you.
Yeah. We might have no idea what we're talking about. That's.
No, I really enjoy the podcast because just like Kevin, it's not really my thing, but I have listened to I think every episode.
Oh, so thank you. Thank you very much.
The quality of your banter. You know,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, right? Like I said this to Alex and Will early on. I was like, I don't think you need to be informative in any way. I think you just want to create like a good social atmosphere. I think people listen to podcasts because they want to feel like there's friends in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because all the times
I've definitely accomplished that.
The episodes I've listened to for definite, yeah. And
yeah.
And when the phases I've gone through where I've listened to a lot of podcasts, it's always been times where I've not been around many people.
Yeah.
So like if you're spending an hour giving people like, you know, the how-to step-by-step actionable advice, it's just boring.
Yeah.
You just need people saying stuff. And also stuff just comes out that you wouldn't think to write down or something that's useful for people too.
Yeah. So like something we always try and balance is like how much good actionable info we want to give out compared to just sort of messing around and just having fun. It's kind of a tricky balance.
Whose original idea was it?
It was Alex's original idea. Alex approached me to do I think a crypto type podcast, and I thought it was a great idea, but I was like, me and Alex are both pretty introverted guys. So I feel like a podcast with the two of us wouldn't really, I feel like there'd be too many gaps in the middle. So I was like, how about we have Will, our other friend Will, who's also very into crypto, very into this sort of adjacent sphere as well. And I was like, how about we get him? And then we did a trial run, like an unrecorded first episode 0, I like to think of it as. And it worked really well. So we're like, yeah, let's just do it.
Are you ever going to release episode 0?
It was not recorded. It's impossible.
Oh, okay.
To access episode 0. You have to be like a federal agent, I think, to be listening in on our Discord call. That's the only people that can actually know what we said there.
Wow. Okay. Jeez, that's you should have recorded it and then sold it.
Yeah. That's actually in hindsight. Yeah, we didn't know anyone was going to be interested, but yeah, in hindsight, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, that would have gone for a lot of money in the Czech Republic.
we did an unrecorded one. Our first one was unrecorded, but that was because I forgot to press record. Is the only reason. So all our best stuff was in that. So sorry.
We had that worry as well. Like for the first one, we were like, how do we know that this is actually being recorded right now? We have no guarantee. But you guys do it on Zoom. We do it on Discord.
Oh, Discord. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't even know how to do it on Discord.
The Zoomer platform.
Yeah, we're too old for that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys talk about? I've actually not listened to any episodes of your show.
Thanks.
This is perfect. This is like when I came on yours.
Yeah.
Like you guys kept trying to mention crypto currency or something, crypto something. And I was like, I had no clue what you're talking about. And then one of you started talking about maths in the middle of it. And at this point, I knew I was being trolled.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to come on, because I feel like I'm the least suited to come on your podcast. So I thought that contrast would create some good sparks.
Well, let's talk about that then. What makes you think you're the least suited?
Well, you guys are psychophysical. I assume you are in some way related to like physical fitness, maybe nutrition, maybe sunning your balls or something. I'm not really sure what goes on in that part of Twitter. I think this is something that Alex and Will are kind of interested in. So I was like, what if I went instead of you guys?
Cool, yeah.
Yeah.
All that is pretty accurate, I think, what you just said.
Yeah, that's why the camera cuts off Eric at that strategic point.
Not just here, but
he's in the shade now. No, he's got the balls in the shade.
Yeah.
Dapple sun the balls,
Shading the balls.
Yeah.
So what are you guys going for then with your podcast then? Was I pretty head on there? Like, what are you going for?
That's more or less too, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of just talking about the intersection between all the different things to do related to health and fitness, and even like you would say like quote spirituality, that kind of stuff, and just how to kind of fit it all together, how to not like making connections between the different domains in life, and then how just sort of ideas and sometimes sharing concepts, sometimes sharing actual tips, things that we're doing that work for us, and just sort of bouncing ideas around. But the main theme is a kind of integrated way of living your life with all these things as part of one thing, rather than you do fitness over here and you do your spiritual beliefs over here, and then your health over here, whatever it is.
Sure, yeah, like it's all connected. Like you can't separate any of them.
And that's how originally my idea was that, because my brain is a sort of connecting brain rather than a stay on one topic, go deep brain. So
yeah, that's what mine is. Mine wants everything siloed into these little autistic boxes where nothing touches.
Yeah, I'm the bully that comes over and smashes up your little autistic boxes.
Yeah.
Do you follow that even within, say, your crypto work? Do you silo things?
I try to. I think it's honestly a bad habit of mine. If I like come to reflect it, I think I have like a habit of going extremely deep on like one thing at a time to the detriment of other things. So like lacking balance in many ways, which is something I'm trying to work on improving. Maybe that's why I wanted to come on. Subconsciously, I felt like I could be helped here.
All right. I was talking to the other guys and we were discussing you coming on, and I thought it might be interesting to hear like a day in the life of Ryan. You know, like an average day, like what you do from when you get up. You know, what your work day is like, what you're eating, where you're working, all that stuff. If you're willing to. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. All right, typical day. I'll wake up. I will chat with my girlfriend for a bit. Usually we chat for like an hour after we wake up in the morning, just hang out. Then I'll go get a coffee and I'll sit down in front of the charts. I'll sort of survey what the markets have done overnight. Crypto's 24/7, so it runs overnight and a lot of shit can happen. I'll go through my Twitter list. I have like a lot of Twitter lists dedicated to specific purposes, different parts of crypto, different things I want to be keeping tabs on a day-to-day basis. After that, I'll evaluate if I need to be making any portfolio moves. I'll check out my bots, see how they're doing, see if any tweaks need to be made. And then I will schedule out all of my tweets on my Cypher algos account for the day. So I'll write out like 7 or 8 or something. I don't really like to be thinking about it throughout the day. So I'll just write like a bunch and I'll schedule them all. And from that point on, it very much depends what project I feel like working on that day. Like I have maybe like 3 or 4 projects ongoing at any one time. And I'll decide for that day which I feel like doing, which I'll prioritize. And a lot of that just looks like writing code. I'm just sitting down, writing code, taking breaks. And I try not to let it run on too long. Like in the evening, I want to chill out and relax with my girlfriend. And I have a bad habit of letting things like run on super far. Like if I'm like unchecked, I'll like not even eat. I'll just like work till like 3 a.m. or something. Just remaining very, very focused on one thing at a time. So I try to like wean myself off and turn off my brain towards the evening.
How do you turn your brain off?
I'll just hang out with her. I'll just chill. I'll maybe watch TV or something. I'll read a book. I'll play some video games with my friends. Yeah, it's something that's like entirely non-related to software development, crypto, the markets. Anything away from that is good for turning my brain off. Yeah, that's probably like a typical day.
How long is that? Like, how long would you say you're working every day?
Let's see. It's probably like 6 or 7 hours if you had to add it all up. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people like they want to do stuff like this because they imagine they'll work less. I feel like I work a ton more than when I was like a software engineer.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. But at least you're passionate about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The reason I do it is because I actually like want to. I wake up every day and I'm actually very, very excited to do what I do.
So tell people what you do for people listening to this that don't know what you do. So I know
sure,
you do
yeah.
several things, and it's pretty cool. So tell them.
Yeah, I just realized that whole segment will make no sense if you don't know who I am.
It was the same when I was in yours.
Yeah.
I got introduced, I think, about 3/4 of the way through, which made sense.
Yeah. So I'm an algorithmic trader, first and foremost. I write trading bots that scan various markets for signals, buy, sell, long, short, and that's my primary income. I also do a little bit of software development as well. I have a couple of projects in the work, generally crypto-based projects, one NFT and another one that's going to be an algorithmic trading platform, both of which I think will launch at some point this year. I do a bunch of little things as well. I also run like a big Discord for crypto people as well.
You have a training course or something as well, don't you, for people learning how to do this?
Yeah. So I have a big algorithmic trading course. There's not a lot of like resources on learning algorithmic trading because it's pretty niche. So I wrote like this full guide because I learned from scratch, and it comes with like the software that I use to like run my bots and everything. So it's sort of like a half course, half software package that you're buying. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you on Twitter ages ago you were talking about this stuff and how you couldn't find. People weren't really talking about it, and then it kind of just grew from there. It's interesting watching it.
I found like my first tweet about it, like back in, I was looking at my deleted tweet archive and I found my first tweet being like, yes, I just launched my trading bot. I think this was back in like 2018 or something. I was like, I feel pretty good about this.
Nice.
I'm guessing, have you constantly iterated on that original one? Like, are you just the actual underlying code?
Yeah. So like the code itself has changed a lot over the years, especially regarding like student feedback. After I like started selling the software to people, I realized that it had a bunch of like flaws. So I fixed all that, and the underlying algorithm, it's a Bitcoin algorithm, that actually has not even changed that much. I tweaked it maybe 2 or 3 times in the past 2.5 years or something. The core algorithms remained pretty much the same, but yeah, you do have to tweak and iterate it a little bit over time.
So one of the reasons
I gotta say, Ryan, you are my main window into the crypto world. I pretty much anytime I have a question or I want information, I'll either look at your timeline or I'll go to the Cypher Discord. I'm a big lurker in there, just so you know.
Oh, are you? You're one of those guys. You should say hi more, Keith. You should.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to actually add to the conversation, but I just siphon off good information.
Honestly, Keith, most of those guys are honestly so dumb. You could easily come in there and stunt on them. It would be easy.
Yeah. I'll think about it maybe sometime. The one question I had for you, Ryan, I always I read a lot of stuff and I always hear like, oh, how good crypto is or how much it's going to be the future and all that. But what would you say is broken with it? Like, how is it not working well?
That's a good question. What's broken with crypto? I'd say the user experience could be a lot better. Like right now, it's mainly geared towards enthusiasts, like tech people. It's good for them, and it's fine for people that have like a good grasp of it. It's good for Zoomers that have very, plasticky brains that can adapt to this stuff. It's very much not good for anyone outside of those demographics, I think. I think because crypto tends to get people very obsessed, like you'll notice this with people that dip their toes into crypto, very often they'll become like a full-on like fanatic about it. A lot of the applications in crypto are therefore geared towards people like that, and there's a lot of presumed knowledge in every part of the ecosystem. Even I still find parts of the ecosystem where it's talking about all the stuff that I don't understand, and I do this 24/7, and I've been doing it like that for years. So yeah, I'd say friendliness to new people and onboarding people that are outside of the current demographics that are really into crypto is probably a big problem that needs to be overcome.
So like people who are wanting to start using some of the things as a tool, just a technology to do whatever they're doing, rather than full-on religious conversion to Bitcoin as the future kind of thing, which is obviously puts off some people from trying different things.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Because like Keith said, Keith's not the only one. There's like a bunch of people, because I mean, I didn't start in crypto Twitter. I obviously started in, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever weird combination of spheres you would say like we're in right now. So like a ton of people, or whenever they have like a crypto or something question, will jump in my DM and ask me about stuff. So I think very much if you're not in it, it takes a lot of time to get accustomed to what's going on.
I mean, I have a little bit in cryptocurrency, but I feel like I just don't know enough to, aside from just like buying and selling, I don't know anything about that type of like market or anything like that. Aside from, I mean, I've made some good trades and stuff, but it's all basically just chance. It's a gamble for me.
Yeah.
Question, Ryan, why do people tell other people, like what Keith just did, which is totally normal? Why do people tell people that they have crypto? I mean, from a security point of view, it seems crazy. It seems completely crazy to me.
Yeah, you should.
Really easy to
cut
just.
cut that out.
Yeah,
No, but
you
everyone does
shouldn't.
it though.
Yeah.
Everyone does it.
Everyone does do it, and it's weird, right? Because this is why I'm not like anonymous. I'm like we're like pseudonymous or something. But I do try to keep like my actual identity a little bit chill for that reason, right? Because I talk about this all the time, and there's no point in putting a target on your back.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think this problem will get better because like the percentage of Americans that hold crypto is like I think you'd be surprised by how high it is. And as that number goes up, you're gonna be less of a statistical target by saying I hold this stuff.
Right.
You'll only be a target really if you're like I hold this stuff in serious size. At which point you should probably be a little bit hush hush, or at the very least be very confident in your personal security.
Yeah, I think it's part of this is one of the things I wanted to ask you about also is it's part of the kind of disconnect when people, obviously I'm looking from the outside, but sort of crypto in general and crypto people, they seem to forget the physical world quite a lot. So like it's like when I hear crypto and there's I don't know the terminology, but you need a password, let's call it, to use it. I just think two guys with baseball bats or guns telling someone, give me your code right now, do it now for me.
Yeah.
I didn't think, oh, you can use this technology and start develop this other technology to do all these. That's not where my brain went at all. I went straight to the physical basis behind it. And that's what I want to ask you about. So the future of the internet and the future of crypto and Web3 or whatever, all these things that people are talking about.
Yeah.
All of it's dependent on a kind of physical base. You need the infrastructure, you need the physical hardware, you need the stable society for all these things to work from. So how do you see that playing out sort of long term? Because people tend to talk about the future and the technological point of view, but how is this going to interact with the sort of breakups of countries and places into smaller units?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably where we'll diverge kind of heavily. I think that the world is like slowly, not quite decoupling from the physical, but it's certainly, I don't know, it's untethering itself a little bit. It's becoming less driven by the physical than the conceptual or the digital, and stuff like crypto, metaverse, the VR, these things are all connected, and they all create a cycle which contributes to this untethering. I think you're already seeing like such strange symptoms of this pop up. Like you've seen like those like virtual VTubers, you've seen like virtual influencers now, like they don't even need a physical form to even sell you their ideas. I think that'll become a lot more common. I think a large portion, maybe not guys like you, but I think a large portion of the population is going to want to recede a little bit from their physical reality. Not entirely. I'm not like a full crazy transhumanist or anything, but I do think people are slowly heading in that direction, even though there's a very ardent contingent on our part of Twitter that is pushing back against that and really doesn't like what's going on. I do think that we're more like outliers or exceptions, and it's really hard to fight that tide.
Yeah, would you say it's kind of like not so much that the digital will take over the physical, but the digital world or crypto world, whatever you want to call it, is kind of, it's emerging alongside it, and they're both going to be like progressing together, and you'll just have to be better at switching back and forth between those things.
Yeah, you're totally correct there. It's like I think, I don't know, I tweeted about something like this. It was like, you know how there's people that are extremely online and then there's everyone else. Like the difference between someone that is very online, like an online native, and someone that is really barely online, like maybe checks Facebook or Instagram or something, these people may as well be like different species, in my opinion. Like this is a different differentiator between people than race, than gender, than class, like anything like that. You can categorize, you can like slice a line down populations like that, and you can see all sorts of differences. And yeah, these are people that are just like coexisting in different realities almost, right? They're watching a different movie, I think was like the Scott Adams way of framing it. And I think the same thing will happen with the sort of metaverse, digital untethering, and people like you guys. I think there will be like a gradual like forking of the species again.
Oh, I don't consider myself as like the opposing wing of this at all. I have like
Okay.
I'm kind of almost like a barbell in my brain. It's like one half is like old. I'm thinking about old hominids coming down from the trees and what they were doing, and then the other half is kind of like I have a right Promethean streak at the same time, and these two things are constantly in conflict for me. So like I find myself going between people, but like similar to you're saying, like it's branching. If it's branching off, and there's people who are more in the physical world and then more in the digital, conceptual metaverse world.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably similar to when language started. So you would have had some of the creatures, our ancestors. Everyone was like much more physical, and you're going around and you're chasing food or running away to stop being food. And then language started, so people are living in this totally different world, a different realm at the same time, where you're all these concepts and words and stuff that aren't real and seeable in that sense. So it's kind of similar to that. There's a lot of people, the very online people are like the people who are much more evolved into language before everyone kind of caught up with them.
Yeah.
And well, what happened then was some groups of the humans killed off the other groups of the humans. So maybe that might happen too. Except you guys will do it with programs. The guys like us.
You guys will just be able to kill us while we're sitting there in our mech suits or in the pod or something. We'll just be like wired up, and you guys will just be able to come in and hit us with a club. It'll be honestly so easy for you. It's dumb. But no, I actually think the way
we'll be able to program like drones and robots to come and get us.
It'd be like a cyber side against like the primitivist side. No, I actually think the way you're talking about, Kevin, is like I think the best way to play it. I certainly think that it's good to have your feet in both worlds, because it's cool to see like this crazy, chaotic, expanding universe on one side, but also have yourself grounded in reality on the other. Like you can't escape the physical, right? Like even if you're like wired up to the moon, like you still need to be in good physical shape if you want like that base level of health and happiness. So it's crazy to wholesale endorse either side, I think.
So what do you think about this, Eric? Because you were talking before about good transhumanism versus bad transhumanism.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. I think you mentioned barbell approach, to online and physical living. And I see that. I actually see that's probably how I live. I mean, when you said incredibly online, I mean, I'm not maybe super into crypto, but I do spend a good amount of time online, but I'm also fully immersed in the physical world. So and that's what I see in our side of Twitter is a lot of people that are like that. They can use the tools, but then they don't forget their physical bodies.
Yeah,
it seems to be a good way, at least.
So, like Alex on your podcast, Ryan, he seems very interested in health, physical related stuff.
Yeah, he very much is. He's a great example of that balance that I talked about. He's like super interested in crypto, but he's like very physical as well. Like his job is physical, his interests are physical. I think it's a really good way to be. I definitely need to balance myself more in that way. I need to like rebalance in terms of the physical. I do very much try to look after myself in that way, but I should probably pay more attention to it.
Well, we did notice that when you described your day, there was no mention of what you eat or any exercise.
Yeah.
Other than going for coffee, I suppose that counts for both.
Yeah. And he said he doesn't eat all day. He'll forget about eating because he's working.
Sometimes. No, I will do so. I guess my head relegated that to like unimportant, which is telling in itself. No, but what do I don't know. My girlfriend cooks, so it's whatever she feels like making during the day. And we also go to the gym as well. So I try very hard not to neglect that stuff. We'll go on walks, we'll go to the gym. I've tried to integrate some of the nutrition tips that I see like you guys posting a lot, especially you, Eric. A lot of the time, but like I'll do like a search on your account, Eric. I'll be like from Eric, and I'll like search specific foods or like
same.
Yeah, I like I like you. I'll use certain accounts as like a database where you can just query words, and I'm like, yes, all right. Eric says this is good. We should probably use it.
All right, right on. Good. Yeah, if you ever have any questions, though, feel free.
Oh,
Sure.
thank you.
So how do you find going to the gym affects your work and your, coming up with ideas, or just working better, or whatever?
It's always better. It's literally it's always better when I'm working out. It's always better when I go for a walk. It's always better when I'm working out, and it's always worse when I neglect it. And yet it still happens. Why does that happen? Why do you neglect it even though it's worse for you?
And it happens to me too.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Part of the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle. I wish I was like one of those people that could like on schedule, just you go to the gym this time every day, you follow a routine this time. I wish I could do that. I'm very envious of people that can do that.
Kevin, you asked me about good transhumanism, and that was an idea I had that would solve Ryan's issue right there. It's some sort of I don't know if it's an implant or some sort of software you can program into your brain, but it's based in inhibition inhibitor. So you can set an alarm, and whatever the device or program is forces you, sort of you cede control of your body for however long it's a predetermined time. You say, okay, I'm going to work out 30 minutes every other day, and I can't say no to it because this thing will just force me to. And you just go through the motions and do them, and then you have control of your body after 30 minutes.
I find it very interesting that you call that good transhumanism. And that very interesting.
Ryan's thinking about a chip you can put into his brain that adjusts all his muscles and does it all for him. So
if there's a chip that can cede control of your body for 30 minutes a day, there's a lot that a couple of rogue lines of code can do with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But don't start renting yourself out in the DMs and Twitter.
It's a cool idea though. I think you've seen the whole like the Neuralink brain chip stuff.
Yeah.
It's maybe not such a far away future thing as we think.
Yeah, it's bound to happen, yeah.
And that, on that same line, again, there's probably a huge room for abuse, but if you could say, you're trying to learn a complicated, I was thinking in terms of doing like weightlifting, something, but it could be any skill, like a sports skill, probably even, like playing guitar. You could, again, cede control of your body for a little bit of time, and then this expert can take control and actually do the movement using your body, perform the skill, and thereby entrain the pathways necessary to make it stick.
Your core audience is not going to like this, guys. Your core audience, you're alienating your core audience right now. Okay. They're not going to like this.
Dude, I think it has potential. There's probably, I don't know that it's possible, but
I think it's a great idea. I think it's really cool. I would love to see stuff like that explored, because a lot of problems with people are inhibition based, aren't they? Like if you think the obesity epidemic or something, like a lot of people, it's like a willpower problem, isn't it? So if you could hack into that, make people eat healthier, go for a run. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a cool idea.
Like Pandora's box, though. I mean, what happens when that happens?
It always has been. It's always been Pandora's box. Fire. Everything that came from fire, good and bad. It's always Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like skillfully or luckily getting more of the good and less of the bad. But so, what's your philosophy of technology, Ryan? What's the meaning of technology, and what does it mean to be human? And what's the relationship between humans and tools, or what should it be?
I think of technology as like the chief vector of human progress. I think the advancement and the progression of it is always inevitable. I think it's like embedded in the human spirit, like right back to what you were talking about when we were playing with fire, when we built tools. This is no different than someone wanting to build a Neuralink brain chip. It's just, there's something within the spirit of some people that they're just endlessly curious and chaotic, and they're willing to tinker with the switches of the universe in order to just see what would happen. And I think that will always be a part of people, and we should we should learn to move with that flow rather than constantly try to be like, no, we can't do that. We should be scared. I think it's good. I think that curiosity is good. And I think like, the arc of that progress tends to bend towards better conditions for people as well.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. I think we need the small group of people who are like that, and then it's probably necessary to have the normies or the people who are a little hesitant about technology to kind of
counterweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or else, if you have too much of one, you'd probably just get a little too crazy or a little too stultifying.
Of course, so. Yeah. It's a beautiful balance, actually, isn't it? Between like the crazy guys who are like, let's fucking go to Mars, let's plant brain chips, we'll merge with machines, let's develop AI like crazy. These guys need checks and balances. As one of these guys, we need checks and balances. we need to be stopped sometimes.
Yeah, because people think of being balanced as just in the person themselves, but it doesn't need to be all the people balanced. They can easily be extremes as long as there's the right balance of extreme types.
Yeah,
in the overall group.
Of course,
I'm one of the more balanced people just by nature, but it's not normal. My way is not normal. It's not like my way of thinking is normally somebody's more on one end or the other. It's just the way people are wired.
Yeah, no, I think balance exists on like a cosmic scale, not just an individual scale. Like the entire, like the species, like even between the species, like the ecosystem of species is like a delicate balance that's maintained somehow.
Yeah, but there's something in people, something in humans where they just feel the need to, once they find something that works for them, or they prefer just to hammer it to everybody else has to do this one thing too. They just can't help themselves. I think I mentioned this on every single episode in some form or another. But
I think we've always been able to spread culture, and that's one of the reasons why we're so successful with the species. So I think that desire to spread your ideas is always going to be there. It's kind of necessary, even though it kind of can manifest in a bad way.
Yeah, it's wild the risks we've taken, like on a cosmic level, right? As a species over thousands, millions of years. It's kind of crazy to think about the risk we've taken and the fact that such good outcomes have happened, like the way that we managed to make it here. I think about this all the time and how much of a miracle it feels like.
It really does.
You guy Ryan's coming out right now. The one thing that I want to, kind of building off of this, what Kevin just mentioned, Ryan, you constantly surprise me when I see some of your tweets or threads, because you are very good at not falling into a dogmatic way of thinking. Like you're very, I don't know, you don't just go with the trend about what everybody in like your immediate sphere, what I might think that you already believe. I'm often surprised about different perspectives that you share and all that. And I think it's, I don't know, it's a more, you just come across as more rational than people that portray themselves as rational, but they're very just kind of like driven by the trend or the feeling of what they should think.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I try very hard to be. It is, I feel like I still definitely fall into those traps sometimes. But I think like my default response when I see like everybody in the in-group saying something, I'm like, all right, well, what if the opposite was true? What if everyone's wrong? Let's explore that for a second. Which is like, it's not even like a rational disposition. It's just like a weird place my brain goes to. But yeah, I always do like to try and explore. I don't really like it when it feels like everyone's like dogpiling on one position, because I like, that's kind of boring. I do definitely like to consider like, what if everybody's wrong all the time? I think that's like a trader instinct though. I'm not sure how applicable that is outside of, but like that's an instinct that a lot of traders have, I think, inbuilt. Yeah.
And building off of that, something that I wanted to ask you is, do you think that type of mentality that you have is because I see that, and then also the community that's formed around you. And I don't think that they're separate things. I think that's very interconnected, because you come across as very thoughtful in what you do. And I think it creates a more a real online community, as opposed to people that just pretty much follow like a meme or something. Yours just seems more like grounded, and there's a lot more. It seems like that's going to stand the test of time, as opposed to just being like a trend or based off of memes or something. Like there's something deeper there. And so my question is, I guess, would you attribute the strength of the community that you're kind of building around you to that mentality that you have?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know I called them idiots earlier, but that was a joke. I'm pretty sure my Discord has the highest percentage of gigabrains out of anyone's Discord. There's some absolute galaxy brains in there. And I'm very happy to have somehow like self-selected for those types of people. I think often like we do like big group calls, and we sort of reflect on like what the community is and what sort of binds all these people. And I'm not even really sure what to call it, because it's definitely moved beyond a crypto group at this point, because a lot of the time they're just discussing things that go completely beyond that scope. So I'm not really sure how to describe it in words, but anyone, you probably know, like anyone that's like lurked can probably see what I'm talking about. There's definitely, the cool thing about even like big public groups is there's like implicit filters in place. Even if you don't explicitly filter for people like gatekeep, you can culturally filter for the type of people that you want in your group. And to some extent, this happens on Twitter a lot, where all of us like connecting and being mutuals is not really a coincidence. Like that will have taken a lot of different connections like meeting in the middle, and a lot of things overlapping in just the right way. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about how groups form online, isn't it? Because when you're unbound by geographical restrictions, all sorts of other selection factors come into play.
So what other things do people in your group talk about that's beyond the scope of crypto?
Honestly, foot fetishes. That's been like a big topic.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's big.
I don't know why. This wasn't me. I left for like a day or something. I came back and they were like debating foot fetishes, and
you rip out that channel right there.
I mean, look, it's really not my thing, but that's why we have the general channels. You know,
sometimes I stop talking about foot fetishes and I start talking about crypto very quickly, and then go back to, you know, if my main foot fetish, I don't know, what are you, a leader? What do you call yourself?
I have myself tagged as the benevolent dictator.
There you go.
I really don't like it when people like sort of pretend that it's not leaderless, you know, like, oh no, you know, we're all equal here. It's just like a group of friends. We're just chilling. I really don't like that. I'd rather be explicit about it. Like, yes, I am in charge. I'll ban you if I don't like what you're saying.
I kind of like that, because it forces, like, people know that you're earnest with it. I mean, and they're more likely to, for lack of a better phrase, stay in line. They're not going to just start doing weird stuff with your space. So
you need a center to the cyclone.
Yeah, especially like as a group gets bigger, right? You sort of see like this happen on larger spheres of Twitter as well that are leaderless, and they start to degrade after they hit a certain critical mass. But I think this probably happened to like the manosphere. This probably happened to Money Twitter, and it probably happens in a ton of different spheres. After you reach a certain level of popularity, because Twitter spheres are inherently leaderless and they can't really be shaped in any explicit way, it sort of falls apart because there's no filter for quality. You got no one calling the shots or making difficult decisions, and it's too scattered and decentralized. So I think it is good to have some hierarchy or structure at the top that is interested and has like a vested interest in the quality of a space maintaining itself positively.
Yeah, you create order. You're like a walled garden.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the whole issue with getting rid of Saddam Hussein? Is you know, he was a pretty bad dictator or whatever, but you know, there are all these competing ethnic interests in the country that he was kind of controlling, and then when he was gone, violence just erupted.
Am I Saddam Hussein in this scenario?
Yeah, I think so.
You might be. You might be. That's it. We've been hired to find this out. You might be.
All right. I mean, that's fine. I'll take that comparison.
Yeah. We'll just name all the benevolent dictators.
This is why his screen's dark just now. He's actually in a hole hiding. Just now.
Yeah, the internet connection's so good for being in a cave as well.
Oh,
man.
Brian, did you have any questions for us, like coming on here? Like, I don't know what you thought about what direction we would go in, but I don't know. Did you have anything coming in our direction?
Let me think about that for a second. Let me think. I actually was curious. Actually, Kevin, you talk about something called the Alexander technique a lot. What is that? I've seen it mentioned a few times, and I've kind of been curious. Do you think you could give an explainer?
Sure. I talk about FM Alexander a lot, but not the Alexander technique. I'll have to explain that though, because Alexander technique is a technique that a guy called Alexander developed. He was a Shakespearean actor, late 1800s, early 1900s. Well, he died in like 955 or something. And he basically, it was like he developed he lost his voice, so he had to project his voice in the theater, and he lost his voice. And he tried all the different techniques and went to all the different doctors and stuff to get his voice back. Couldn't get it back. So he started experimenting with movements in front. This is the story anyway. He started experimenting with movements in front of the mirror for months at a time. And then he sort of realized that if he restructured his posture in a different way, he got his voice back. So then he developed this, and it was a way of like consciously disciplining your movements and restructuring yourself. He called it like originally called it conscious guidance and control. And like conscious guidance is it's basically reasoning about your movements, just figuring out the cause and effect, and then rationally commanding yourself to move all those parts in such a way at the same time, rather than just going by your feeling of the movements. So anyway, he developed this. He taught loads of people. He had like kind of famous students. He had Aldous Huxley, the author, was a student, one of his pupils for years. John Dewey, the pragmatist philosopher. But anyway, so he died, and then the people took over. And like whenever there's somebody who develops something good, the people that take over from them usually wreck it. So they turned it into this kind of
Alchemist is going to happen. How that's going to happen too.
What?
Ryan's like algorithmic trader.
Yeah, it's guaranteed.
Someone's going to take it over and wreck it.
So basically a bunch of touchy-feely people took over, and it became this kind of bodywork thing where you just feel good and all that. And it really wasn't like that at all. It was much more about rational discipline of your thoughts to discipline your movements. And so the Alexander technique is what the people taught that came after. So you'll go to a room and somebody will put their hands on you and manipulate you into position and help you release tension and stuff. I used to do that. I was trained in that, did that for a few years. Didn't really work. I wasn't really happy with it because I thought I was, because what their thing is to make your back and your long and wide and to be lengthening your back and stuff. And so I thought I was doing that. It felt great. And then one day I watched myself on video and realized it looked nothing like what I thought I was doing. Like the opposite. I was doing this horrible big curve inward, thinking I was straight. I realized I was making myself shorter because, if your curve's sitting in the middle, the two ends get closer together. So you're making yourself shorter without realizing it. And everyone's like pulling their chest up at the front, trying to make themselves taller, but actually makes themselves shorter if you look at them from the side. So anyway, then I realized that it just didn't work. So I don't talk about the Alexander technique. I just talk about the early work of Alexander, which he did first. And my guess is he stopped doing it that way because it's too hard to learn. And then he just, more people, like the 20th century fascination with kind of somatic techniques took off, and all the mind-body stuff, and it just got pulled into that because it was made more money just doing it to people. But it doesn't work doing it to somebody. You go away a few weeks later and it just wears off. I know this experience. So the way I teach it is the way he taught himself in front of the mirror, because this is the weird thing. He taught himself without anyone putting his hands on them, without anyone putting their hands on him. But the people who teach it say you can't get it unless they put their hands on you and give you the magic movements. Again, I said this stuff to people. I believed it years ago. It's just not true. It sounds much nicer. You just need to release some tension and everything will be fine. Get out of your own way. It sounds great, but it actually needs to be much more rational and reasoned about your movements. And I found myself also often using computer programming analogies to describe it, because you're programming movements. You're deciding you're deciding which movements I will move. Part A away from part B at the same time as I move part C away from part D. And then you sort of layer them out, and then you just run the program. You just put them all together in like a 2-second movement, and then you use video to analyze after. So you had a tweet a while ago, Ryan, about trading, about how you have to just get data. You have to record what you're doing and analyze the data, not just go by your feeling. It's exactly the same stuff with posture.
Okay.
Because people go by the feeling of where they are to decide whether it's good or bad. And I know from hundreds of people I've done it with, everyone thinks they're doing one thing and they're doing something else when you see the video, you can't argue. Exactly like you guys are looking at charts, and you can have a hunch and then you just lose the money. You can't argue about it.
Okay. All right. Follow-up question then for all of you, I guess. For you guys are all like very, I don't know. I'm very jealous. You guys all seem very like good and well connected with your bodies. You seem like very good at listening to those signals in a way that I'm jealous of, because I've always been really bad at this. What are some like absolute 101 stuff for people like me who are definitely geared naturally in a different direction but want to feel more connected in that way?
One way I've seen a lot of people who are sort of in your area of expertise learn to use their bodies is to kind of bridge the gap between their intuition and using sort of like the wearables, so you can kind of that way you can get numbers, and then you can compare the numbers to how you're feeling, and then you can kind of learn to develop your intuition about how you're feeling actually transfers to objective numbers. So it's kind of like some people just go by feeling. Other people, you can get devices that track your HRV, which is basically a measure of how stressed out you are. And so a lot of people who don't have a connection to their bodies, they can create that connection by kind of looking at the numbers and realizing how the numbers, correlate to how they're feeling. And then eventually they can move away from using the devices at all.
Interesting. I didn't know there were devices that could do that.
Yeah, like heart rate monitors. So the Apple Watch can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one of those rings that track your sleep or something.
Oh, the Oura Ring.
Yeah,
Oura Ring.
Yeah, I heard they're cool.
People use that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that really like them. They're not really for me, but I know people who have really learned to like improve their sleep because they wear the ring and then they can and then they write down all the variables of the day, like what they ate, if they had a glass of wine at night, all sorts of stuff. So they learn to figure out what exactly affects their sleep negatively and positively.
I like that because it's
well with you.
It's like refining a trading strategy. You're like, oh, this is what went wrong here. What did I do there? I exited too early and entered too late. I was a little bit emotional today. A lot of traders do this actually. Like some people they'll wake up and they'll do like a self-evaluation. They'll be like, how am I feeling right now? Do I feel uncomfortable? Do I feel lonely? Do I feel they'll chart all sorts of stuff. I'll chart all sorts of stuff. Like when was the last time I did that? When was the last time I did this? Have I seen friends recently? And they'll chart all of this and they'll gauge it against their own performance to see what factors will make them more money, which is like very extreme. I don't go that far. I do like to like journal what I do, but I definitely don't go that far. So it's very interesting that completely different worlds have the same sort of system for managing these things.
Yeah. That's actually similar to what I do with the posture lessons with people. It's I teach them how to like analyze to chart all the different little movements that make up the posture, because it's just made of a group of movements, and then to use the video to go, well, this define some specific parts, and then did that go forward or back? Did this go forward or back? What was the rotation here? And then just sort of like imaginary sort of concepts about, if you had a center of rotation over here, how would that change the overall posture of this part? And it's very conceptual like that. And then somehow similar to what Eric's saying about how if you if you're someone like starts with the numbers and the data, and then their intuition can take over, can they start aligning them together? For me, it's similar thing where you build up a kind of imaginary, rational mental model of yourself and your current posture and the way you're wanting to make it. And then over time, your actual physical posture that you'll see on video starts to align with this kind of, you have this little imaginary Ryan who's moving in all these ways and stuff. And then eventually you start widening the two things become closer and closer. And that bit you're always like, you think you had a really good one and then you watch the video and it was shit. Or you think it was shit and then you look in the video and go, that was great, fuck, I lost it, how to get it back? But then you try and feel it back and you can't get it by feeling it because you have to rationally decide on the movements and then check after. It's really similar to trading, from what I understand of trading, in the sense that you're being confronted with reality all the time. You're being confronted with your own delusions constantly. You're being duped by your sensations. So I guess in trading, it's by your gut feeling. You're being duped.
Yeah, or your emotions like fear or greed.
Right.
And I would suggest is put yourself in environments where if you go for a walk in like a park or something like that, or through the woods, or I don't know what you have around you, but and have nothing else, like no cell phone, no devices, nothing like that, and you're just out there for an hour or two, and you have nothing but just yourself experiencing that environment around you. So if you roll your ankle, you're going to know you rolled your ankle. It just puts yourself in your body in that place. That would just be something that, I don't know, it gets you more out of your mind and into your environment. And your body is your method of interacting with the environment.
Cool. I appreciate the advice, guys.
Cool. There's another concept from like physical training that I don't know if you do this, but there's something called a deload week, where if you've been lifting weights, consistently for a month or two, it actually, and then you take a deload week. So you take a week off doing nothing but just walking and, maybe stretching. And then oftentimes what happens is you come back and you're stronger, like you've made strength gains. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the same thing would work for like someone who works in the intellectual world, Like
totally. It definitely does. You get guys taking weeks off or months off from trading. Some guys take out like a specific month every year. They're like, I'm not going to trade this month, right? They'll just have like a mental reset period. I think repeatedly doing like the same thing forever probably has the same sort of effects across these different realms. It's funny how many overlaps we keep finding, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a whole podcast,
Yeah.
I forgot if we mentioned it here before, or if you mentioned it on your podcast, but we are we're both offering kind of different sides of the same coin in many ways. Obviously your podcast is called Modern Sovereign, and it's all about building your own sovereignty in the world, and being able to not depend on regular 9-to-5 job or anything along those lines, or being able to be mobile anywhere. You could go anywhere in the world and do that. And then what we're also doing on our end is more of just almost to be physically sovereign, like being able to stay healthy, fit, control your own body, and not have to offload that responsibility onto other areas of life. I think they both have kind of the same mindset there, and like you want to be self-reliant, and we just come at it from different angles.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, like we're all quite different people, but I think there is no coincidence that we all ended up in the same place, and I think that overlap is a big testament to that.
Yeah, I think the nexus, maybe where the two things overlap, is so you've got like the crypto programming kind of stuff on techno utopian stuff on one end, which is very obviously conceptual and logical, and then you've got like the physical out getting, people getting dirty out in the woods or whatever, on the other end. but the middle. So we were talking about like when you're talking about sovereignty over both. I'm Scottish. I'm allowed to do this. And
True.
the true. And it's what we're really both talking about. It's the thing where it joins is control of your own inner speech, control of your own internal dialogue, because you can't control your health and fitness if you're not in control of yourself, and you need to use words. You're talking to yourself all the time, or things are just happening. Words are just appearing in your head, and things are just happening, or you get pulled into trends. And you're just saying the things other people are saying, or you're in charge of your own inner talk, and you're using that to do things. So like you're obviously using your inner speech to program or to trade or whatever it is. And then you're regulating your own emotions using words, talking to yourself. I think it's because we live in words in your head. Everyone sort of forgets the importance of it. So like as I've got older, that's the thing I've noticed the most important for everything. For like my lack of discipline in my life was out of control inner speech that I didn't realize.
What about for people that have no inner monologue? Did you see that?
I don't buy that.
You know that no, some people for real don't have it. They don't have an inner monologue.
Don't buy it.
I know.
I know they don't. Okay. Well, let me say they don't. I don't buy that they don't have. They're not talking to themselves. They may not be hearing themselves speak, but like I know from just even the posture stuff, your inner speech and your ideas about your movements are changing, or they're controlling and determining what movements you can do. Change some new concepts about movement, or understand how the mechanism works purely in words with it or on the diagram, and then the person can suddenly do a new movement. Something talked to something inside you, even if you weren't aware of it.
Something does. I find that very interesting. As some people say they don't have something that feels very much like as natural as breathing to I assume all of us. But there's also like different modes. Like I consider myself primarily a visual thinker. If I like think about how I think, it comes in streams of images, and words are there, but they're more secondary to the streams of images. And some people I find are like that too, and some people have neither. Some people like they can't really visualize things, but they also don't have an inner monologue running through their head. And to that, I sort of feels alien to me. That should be a different species.
Yeah. But you're making models in your head all the time. So like the models sometimes the models are imagery, sometimes it's words describing the imagery.
Yeah. I'm more along the lines of you, Ryan, where I mainly think in images and words just kind of trail behind that. But I actually have a friend who's a good musician, and he doesn't really think in words or images. He thinks in music. And then everything trails behind that. So like he has like melodies playing in his head, and that's his like natural thought pattern. So
that's incredibly cool.
Yeah. It maybe leads me to believe that some of these people that they don't think that they have an inner monologue or dialogue or whatever, that there is something, but they haven't picked up on what it is. I mean, you can't just not.
Or there's something else louder that they use more.
Yeah. And it's just maybe so there that all the time that it's like, if you're staring at a white wall, do you know that it's a wall, or you just think it's blankness? So,
white wall is already words, though. To know you're looking at white wall is white. White is a concept. Wall is a concept. They're like the facts and the concepts are intertwined for humans.
No, they're not words. It's an image, Kevin. It's an image.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. When I look at the wall, I see the word white written on the wall. The most useless synesthesia of all time.
I find it so cool how little we even know about how we think. You know, you ever think about how crazily detailed our understanding of something like the human heart is, and how like absolutely just grade school child level incompetence at understanding the human mind? I find that really, really interesting about like where we are positioned in human history.
You know, I don't know that we'll ever really get past that, because it's almost like you're asking to define the thing using the thing itself. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if there might be some sort of physical law that it just can't be done.
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
tough.
It feels like you hit some natural resistance when you try to think about it sometimes, doesn't it? Like it sometimes it feels like if you go to certain places in your brain, it feels like there's like like when you're playing a video game and there's an invisible wall. Sometimes it feels like your brain puts up that wall being like, no, that's a restricted area.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Ryan,
I think some of the stuff should be restricted. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
There's probably
Yeah,
good
if
reason.
you fully see yourself, do you continue to be yourself? Like it's a defense mechanism between, so as not to annihilate yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole theory of, like language developed for deception. That's its primary function, is to deceive others and to notice when they're deceiving you and to not be deceived. And so like if it's all about if it's based on deception, you don't know how much it's no wonder everyone's struggling to find the truth of things, because it's not what it was for.
Yeah, but at the same time we have this like innate drive to seek it out anyway. That's how torturous. Why was it built like that?
It's cool. It's something to do.
Yeah, it's something to do. It also leaves like a big blank space for you to project whatever is most interesting onto, which I feel like a lot of people do as well.
Yeah, of course. Brian, I got a question. I want you to paint me a picture of the benevolent tech society that we're going to live in 20 years from now.
Okay. 20 years? 20 years isn't that far away. 20 years is like...
however long you
saved
think
by a man in his 20s.
Yeah. Well, true. Yeah. How did you know I was in my 20s?
Oh, sorry. We have already doxed you, but anyway, you'll find out.
That reminds me, we haven't even discussed my 23andMe. But anyway, to get onto Keith's question, I don't know. Let's say X years in the future, maybe 50 or something. I guess a utopian technocratic outlook would be that, first of all, that technology would have propelled us into a post-scarcity society, right? So there would be no need for the majority of jobs that people hate to be worked anymore, because we can automate them all away. This is like a fairly entry-level technocracy concept. At which point, because of those gains, the next natural step is some sort of universal basic income. So people will have to just be paid to exist, because not everybody will be able to serve a very key, important role in this society. But that's okay, because they can flourish in other ways. They can socialize. They can hang out. They can explore the worlds. Maybe they're exploring other worlds as well. Maybe they're off in Mars in space. They can form human connections. If they're artistically inclined, they could be creative. That's my opinion the basis of it, right? Like technology generally is a vector for human autonomy, in my opinion. Like we're always using it to sort of echo out more freedom and sort of make things more efficient via automation, stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that is like the basis of like a future society that is benevolent. But then you have all sorts of other things, right? Like what role does artificial intelligence play in this future society? Ideally people would use it as a means to automate more menial tasks, and probably not as a proxy for human connection, which is maybe the direction we're going. Probably not a great one. But that's a whole other podcast in itself, probably.
Well, it doesn't sound so bad. Maybe I'll live to see it someday.
I think it's good, honestly. I think the idea of a spacefaring species, and like one where we have that explorer spirit reignited in us, is a pretty nice future. I think it's I think that'll appeal to a lot of people more than they think right now.
Yeah, not having a frontier is bad for the soul of a society. Yeah,
it is. There's something very not fun about the idea of every square inch of the Earth being mapped out on Google Maps. There's something very soul crushing about that, where you feel like there's no more unknowns and all the blank edges of the map have been filled in. There's something very, very not fun about that. And and to open up, like break through the next wall, I think that will be extremely invigorating for people in a way that is not currently being anticipated. I think, I don't know, space research gets a really bad rap right now because people are like, you should spend those resources making Earth better, but like we've got problems here right now. It's like there are bigger existential questions to be answering than that right now, in my opinion.
You think one manifestation of that that need to find more frontiers is like the metaverse? Like it's humans creating another frontier to build out?
That's absolutely the case. The same feeling you get when like maybe you have like a favorite fantasy book or something. Like maybe you remember the feeling the first time you started reading Lord of the Rings and you were like grasping at the scope of this new world. I think that's a same sort of spirit with which like is always embedded in people, but that we have to like recreate it artificially in other ways now. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, you know. It's a great sense of wonder when you like find something like that. Like really good video games, I think recreate this feeling as well. Like I remember like playing Assassin's Creed when I was a kid and going around exploring like historical Venice or something and thinking this is incredible, or like the post-apocalyptic wastelands of Fallout. Like it was really cool because you were exploring a new world and you didn't know what you were going to come across. And it would have been it's nice to do that in the real world as well, but I think we'll always look to replace it in other ways. And I think the metaverse is a natural extension of that feeling that is inside of a lot of people.
What's the biggest thing that you see that you don't think that anybody else sees coming?
Oh, damn, that's a really hard question.
And it can be, I mean, maybe you and like your whatever, like people in your or whatever see coming, but the general public doesn't.
Okay, well, see, I was about to go the opposite way. I was going to like talk about the ways in which I disagree with like the in group or something right now, but the general public
too, yeah.
Well, I feel like among our group, there's like this expectation of like institutional collapse and that people are going to like wake up and things are going to like change drastically. I would bet against that. I would bet on stasis way more than that. I think it only feels like that because mainly you're in a social bubble of other people that are saying that constantly. The average person doesn't really feel that at all. And I think these institutions are built for continuity. They're absolutely built to resist like minor shocks from people like us. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm more optimistic than most people. So I guess what my answer to that question would be that everything is going to be fine. And in fact, everything is going to get better, in ways that you can't even imagine or expect. Because that's literally always the way that the arc of humanity bends.
So how do you see the big sort of war going on between the sort of technology to be used, extreme top-down centralized digital control system that's, you know, in the process versus the kind of things you guys are working on?
Like the decentralization wars?
Yeah.
I think decentralization is a bit of a mind virus in that once it's incepted into your head, you sort of can't get out of your head, which you see in a lot of crypto people. So I think decentralization will start to sweep through as a sort of cultural phenomenon over the next few years. Like right now, our society is extremely centralized. Everything we interact with is extremely centralized. I think centralized authority will slowly lose its mind and market share across people over the next probably the next decade. Yeah.
I have a crazy theory that it's not substantiated by anything, but I think the biggest thing that would happen in the next 10 years that no one expects is that the communist government of China is overthrown and they become a democracy or embrace a more democratic way of life.
That's a cool prediction.
So how do you think China and the kind of changing geopolitical power structures is going to affect the internet, Ryan?
Yeah, okay, so right now, like the internet that we know is not the same as the internet that someone in China knows quite, right? Like the internet is sort of there's like different countries hovering over every country because every country has a different internet, sort of, right? So like we share the same internet. Me and you, Kevin, as we're in Europe, but we share the same internet with Americans like Keith and Eric. But we don't really share the same internet as Chinese people do. We don't really share the same internet with some other people. So right now they're still fractured a little bit. I think that will start to change. I think you'll see like a globalization of the internet itself. You already see this actually, like where there's not so much of a culture of individual places anymore. Like a lot of parents talk about how like there's just TikTok culture now. Like a lot of kids, like they're sort of part of the monoculture of TikTok rather than like 20 years ago where they would have been part of the culture of where they live, like as a town, as a country, as a state. The internet has like this great globalization effect. I don't mean great as in good. I mean great as in large in scope. And I think that will start to play out over the internet itself as well. I think like the walls between our internet and China's internet will start to break down because the internet is really good at doing that. It's really good at exposing you to things that were once invisible.
You can definitely see, I mean, even like accents are kind of disappearing.
Yes.
Regional accents.
Yeah, I don't really even have a Scottish accent.
Well,
I'm told I'm very understandable for a Scottish person.
Half of this podcast is very articulate.
So Eric, you have Ryan's 23andMe. We'll go through and you could tell him what he's supposed to be eating.
I was hoping I'd get the raw data. That could be more interesting because then I could plug it into all the ancient populations. But he's a pretty typical Scot. British. Yeah. He's got a little sliver of North African.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
0.3, I think.
Yeah,
0.4.
Pretty North African, 0.1.
Very African, as you can tell from my mannerisms, I think.
Yeah, that's the accent. That's why it changed your accent.
Yeah, it's part African.
Yeah.
my parents.
You have a 0.3% African twang when you speak. I can hear.
Yeah, but my parents try to pass down our 0.3 culture to me. So yeah, yeah. No, I think it's pretty typical. I'm like I think it's like 90 something % Northwest European.
Yeah. Your paternal haplogroup is a pretty common Scottish one. Yeah, nothing. But it would be, if we ever do another episode, and you were willing to, we could get your raw data and find out some interesting things, like what kind of ancient populations you're closest to.
Yeah, I'm game. That sounds fun.
Yeah. What did you tell me? I've given Eric my raw data, and I think I had ancient Scythian or something.
Heavy
Viking and Scythian. What's that?
Yeah, that's right. You got a lot of hunter-gatherer, more than most European people of European descent. Very little farmer. Yeah.
Could tell that about you, Keith. I could tell that.
Can you? What gives it away?
I didn't need the data. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe climbing round upside down on your kitchen table might be part of it. But
yeah.
And
that's my ancient genes coming through.
Yeah. The 23andMe thing's really cool. I remember when I first did it, I was like, I was thinking about it all, and it is very cool how there's like just this unbroken chain leading to you, and like every link in the chain has a little bit that's passed on that created like you. That's very cool to think about.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, we've been going for quite some time here. Anything else top of mind? I mean, we got him in the hot seat right now. So
yeah, I'm right here.
So far, he hasn't ruined our podcast and gotten us thrown off of platforms. So that was good.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You still gonna try to do that?
No, you guys have been too nice. I don't want to ruin your show now. I don't want to carpet bomb it with some choice quotes. Some of this obviously they wanted me to do it. They see it as a war. They see you surpassing us in Twitter followers as a declaration of war, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, that happened. Yeah. We're still up probably about 10 or so.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you know what? It's Will. All right, Will runs the Modern Sovereign Twitter account, and he's doing a terrible job. He barely even posts our episodes to that. Okay, that's mainly my job.
He's on Twitter like one day a week for an
I know.
hour, and he's got all just scheduled tweets for that, and like
Yeah.
he does everything then. So
Yeah, he's not extremely online enough. He's definitely not even close. It's I need to pull him up about that actually.
well, whose idea was it to assign him the account?
I think it might have been mine because he's a marketing guy. I was like, okay, obviously this is Will. He'll be amazing at this. He's a marketing guy.
Oh, he's probably writing copy and newsletters about it though, right?
Yeah, he's a different type of marketing guy. Yeah, he's like a long form copy primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say something actually that struck me about Ryan, because we talk a lot about how people who are really focused on the intellectual side of things can often their health can really suffer, and so can kind of their perspective on life. But we've all three of us, I know we talked about it, have been struck by how healthily you seem to handle this imbalance. You know what I mean? Like the sort of single-minded focus on the crypto stuff. And my theory is that it's because you are actually you're doing a lot. Your movement. So okay, let me go back a bit. I have a theory that the reason why people get stuck in stasis and general unhappiness or dissatisfaction is that most people aren't physically moving. That's why physical movement can help. But you have sort of this creative movement where you're like, you have like 4 projects going at any one time. You wake up and you're driven to do the thing that you're set to do that day, and work doesn't really feel like work. And so in a way, it's kind of like this imbalanced way of life you have is actually what makes you so healthy in a way, because you're moving in this intellectual realm. Movement is movement. And so that's just one thing I do. I kind of, I really admire that about you.
Oh, thank you. I think that's correct actually. Yeah, I do think that is actually true. I do wake up and I like to like give myself the freedom to just explore whatever I want that day, just like intellectually. I really don't like to constrain myself with like, you have to do this today. So I just like to let my mind wander and do that. So I guess that is like the intellectual equivalent of letting yourself wander and listening to the signals in your body. I think that is really good to do. Like in general, it's really not good to like just pigeonhole yourself in one thing. Whether it's like in terms of your job or even like ideologically. Like I really love reading like I don't know if you guys do that. Like we're in like sort of like a fairly slightly right-leaning sort of sphere, but I love reading like left-wing communities and things like that just to see how they think. I love like checking out like the full like spectrum of ideology and see what's going on there, which strikes me as like similar to what you were talking about, like staying kind of nimble in intellectual realms. So I definitely think you're onto something.
What came to my mind as you were describing that, Eric, was that he and it comes across just, I don't know, you get the spirit of somebody from what they portray online, and you just come across as carrying a lot of momentum all the time. Mm-hmm. Like you're always and that has a lot to do with the motion, like intellectual motion that Eric talked about, but you also have a I don't know, it feels more like what you do feels robust. You feel like you have weight behind what you're doing, or that's the way it comes across anyway, that you're not slowing down or you're not tripping up at all.
Yeah, I find it very hard to slow down. I think a side effect of really enjoying what you do is that you kind of never stop. Like sometimes, like if I'm like on holiday or something, I'll find myself being like, you know what, I just had a great idea for a script, or I really want to check out how this market's doing, or like what this person's saying about this event. And it's not even like a you're chained to it. It's like I genuinely just find that more interesting than relaxing or sitting down or something. There's definitely drawbacks because like you feel like you always kind of want to do it. But I guess if you want to do it, is it really a drawback? Probably not.
No, you're doing exactly what you want to do. So I mean that's a pretty good way to live.
For sure.
Yeah, Ryan's daily approach there to just seeing what it is he wants to work on that day sounds actually a lot like your fitness approach, Keith.
Yeah. I never go into working out with like a set idea of what I'm going to do. I just jump from idea and build off of it as I go.
Yeah, I love that. I'm like so bad at sticking to schedules, whether they be like intellectual or physical. I'm really, really bad. I hate being boxed in that way. It's really, I feel like you're also, yeah, probably not you. You guys don't have this problem. I'm more likely to show up to the gym if I give myself the freedom to do whatever I want once I get there. Because
yeah,
like,
definitely, yeah, same.
Because even if I'm doing something suboptimal, I feel like I'm building more momentum if I just show up and do something than if I don't go because I'm like, I don't really feel like working out back today.
That goes back to the frontier thing. It's because it's now already fixed. It's like a closed system. Yeah. You know what you're going to do when you go there. Well, what's the point now? I already know what it's going to do. It's in a similar way as like I actually don't like getting paid before I've done something. If it's like a one-to-one stuff, I prefer getting paid after. When I get paid before now, I don't enjoy it as much. It's a chore I have to do to justify the money that they give me, rather than I'm doing saying, yeah. And then, but it's the same thing, but it totally changes my my relationship with it, and it's exactly like with working out kind of stuff as well. Just like to think I would do a program, it's just impossible for me to follow the same program.
Kevin, that's how at least I parent with kids, you know, like you don't give them
pay you at the end,
give them the treat, you know, before they do the thing. They have to do the thing,
right,
to earn the reward. It just works way better that way.
Yeah, no, that's like I said, it comes back to, in my mind, obligation. I feel like I resist things more when I'm obligated to do them as opposed to doing them out of choice.
Yeah. I think that's like the most common when people are like wanting career advice as well. Like you always like think about like what doesn't feel like work to you, but ideally what also feels like work to other people, because you know you'll be able to arbitrage that.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah,
I stole that from Naval. I'm pretty sure he said
it. Damn it. You should have taken credit. Everyone else does.
No, someone would have called me out on it.
No, there's not that many people listening.
Yeah, what are your guys' numbers like? You guys, I wonder if you're being. I don't actually know our numbers. So Alex is the number keeper.
I don't think we track numbers.
You don't track numbers? You don't track them?
I haven't checked. I sometimes see them when I'm uploading stuff, but I don't pay attention yet.
I know we got a higher Twitter following than Modern Sovereign.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
That's our main metric, yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I don't know if Alex told you, but Keith and I are going to be seeing him next week.
Yes. Yeah, he told me. Yeah. You guys are, wait, is the location docs yet? Can I say it?
You can say it.
Yeah, I did. Wait, I don't know. He said Hawaii, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Very nice.
I met up with Alex this summer, actually, when I was in Boston.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd actually met him in person. It was cool.
Yeah, there's a whole, I don't know, worlds colliding, podcast colliding.
Yeah. I'm trying to do that more, trying to meet more mutuals. I think I'm at like 5 now.
Cool. Oh, cool. Do you find it difficult living in Europe?
Sort of. Well, I was in London last week, and I met one of my Discord friends there when I was in London. So like, it's cool that people are spread all over. Yeah, it's not so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the worst thing for me. It's really hard to meet as many people. Most of the people I'd like to meet are in the States.
Yeah.
And obviously Cyprus is even more out of the way now than Scotland was, or England was in England. But yeah, I mean the whole Twitter and the online stuff just comes alive when you know you're meeting people all the time. It changes the dynamic.
Yeah, it's cool. It's also that crossover between digital and physical worlds. It feels kind of weird at first, but really cool.
It's not. I'm like, I mean, maybe not you, Ryan, your age, but I mean, we're all old enough to remember when it was a pretty weird thing if you were telling someone you were going to meet,
of course,
some guy off the internet. It was odd. It still is.
That's weird. Yeah.
Well, you're maybe meeting weird guys off the internet. That's not the same. It's quite the same thing.
Yeah, no, we're going to record an episode next week, hopefully.
Alex on there.
Oh, you should, yeah. Get him to show our podcast some more.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ryan, have you any sort of like a little practical tip for someone to finish off with then? That if someone knows nothing about crypto, how should they go about, and they're interested in getting involved in it, how should they go about figuring out what thing they do or get into, if you know what I mean? What's their strategy for getting involved, or should they just fuck about with some money?
First thing is you should stick to Twitter, not YouTube. YouTube crypto is pretty low IQ and awful. Stick to Twitter. You start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the two most important cryptocurrencies right now. The crypto is so broad and diverse now that you cannot possibly cover every sector. So after you've read a little bit about Bitcoin, you've read a little bit about Ethereum, you should pick one sector that really interests you. For some people, this is NFTs. For some people, this is DeFi, decentralized finance. For some people, it's going to be games. Pick one sector and go hard in that. Don't try to be a crypto person generally, because you'll end up with very shallow knowledge of everything, when really what you want to be is like you want to be handy in one before you expand into others, because once you do have like that depth of knowledge, you'll be better equipped to step over into another lane.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and tell everyone listening, I guess, what the platforms and everything that you're on again, or what you offer. You have your Discord, you're on Twitter.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. If you like crypto, interested in algorithmic trading, follow Cypher Algos on Twitter. All my links can be found there. My main account is Metatrist. I've got alt accounts such as XA__Alexander, Chiron01, Anon_girl, Chaotic Lars. I'll leave you guys to work out which of those are real and which are not.
Perfect.
I was an alt, right? I think
I did one screenshot where Eric's account was
Eric's discovering where he came from.
Yeah. I forgot I did that. Yeah. That was one of the less believable ones, I think.
And
you mentioned, I don't know if you can talk about it, but you mentioned an NFT project. Is that something you can talk about, or?
I can, yeah. It's called Cypher Angels, but there's like no details on that right now. We're going to be releasing some more info. It's going to be an NFT project / meta game, like maybe like a global puzzle solving with rewards sort of thing. We're still hammering out the details, but yeah, we'll be releasing more info on that later. Yeah, if you follow my stuff, I'll definitely tweet more about that.
Sounds cool.
Cool, excellent. That's pretty much wrapping up now. Like, what? Any closing thoughts?
No, just like that. Thanks for having me on, guys. I had a really good time here. This was actually a really cool sort of like meandering call. Very, very interesting.
You're very welcome. It's been fun. It was nice to go through some of the crossovers between the kind of stuff we're doing. It's interesting, all the similar things that are working and ways of approaching things.
Yeah, it's great to like chat to you guys a little bit more intimately as well, like instead of just on Twitter.
Yeah, that's nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so apologize in advance for all the psychos that are going to be in your, your Discord and
that's fine.
DMing you and
people
stuff.
sliding into your DMs demanding pictures of your feet. They'll happen.
The more psychos, the better.
I'm just kidding, because they're all the same followers pretty much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a big crossover for sure.
Yeah.